Hi everybody, this is Chris Hastings from World Channel. We'll be starting in about a minute. I'm just gonna let the views get up before we go live. So far I see 6 people who are joining us live, so in about a minute we will go and start our conversation. Hello everyone, I'm Chris Hastings, executive producer for World Channel. Welcome to World Channel's YouTube page. I am so thankful for you're here. If you're new to World Channel's YouTube page, please be sure to subscribe to our channel using the subscribe button. It should be the big red button underneath this box and it says subscribe, so please press it and follow us because this will be the first of a few events that we will be doing over the next few months. I am, again, Chris Hastings, executive producer for World Channel. We are here coming to you from Boston. Our guest this evening, Mette Hoffmann Meyer, is coming in from Copenhagen, and so she'll be joining us in a second. Before we get started, I want to show you a promo of the series that we're releasing today called Why Slavery. And so here is a clip of that series for you to view. When we come back, I'll introduce you to our guest today.
कब से काम कर रही हो? डिग्री कब से चल रही है?
छोटे से चल।
अभी कितना उम्र है तुम्हारा?
12 10 12।
नींद आ गई तो ये काट देते थे।
We are not animals. There is no slave trade anymore.
Taking selfies. How you doing, Mette? I want to introduce you to our esteemed guests from the Y Foundation. Real quick, Mette Hoffmann Meyer, and just so you understand that we are really excited to be here with you, is the executive producer at the Y. Mette was previously head of documentaries and co-production at Denmark's public service broadcaster, the DR, and editor of factual series and documentaries on the DR Channel 2. Mette has helped finance films, many award-winning films over many years. I got to meet Mette when I first started traveling internationally and took on this job to curate our series Doc World. And so what I'm really excited about is I get to work with her on bringing the series Why Slavery to the U.S. Mette, welcome to our YouTube channel. I want to first start.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's really great to be here.
Excellent. So I just want to keep this pretty simple, and I want to sort of give you a chance to share a little bit with us about what is the Why Slavery series.
Yes, the Why Slavery series, it was actually inspired by President Barack Obama. Already in 2012, I was attending the UN General Assembly in New York, and I was very lucky to get an invite to a speech that President Obama was to do. And he actually spoke 40 minutes about modern day slavery to a bunch of, in the audience was Gates and Goldman Sachs people and a lot of business people, and then we journalists, we were in the back. But I thought, having always done documentaries and also shown films about trafficking of women and other child slavery in India and Africa and so, but I thought there must be more to it than that, since he spent so much time with these influential people. And I realized it was also much more systemic than I had imagined. So a few years later, we were launching Why Poverty, a number of films about inequality and poverty. At the UN, and then sort of, you know, we had to distribute that, and we talked about slavery several times as a topic, and we then started to do research and realized it was much more systemic that we had ever thought. And it's kind of a business plan, it's kind of business structure to take advantage of poor people. So that and we realized also it was you know, millions of people. We use the ILO numbers, but I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. I think it's not only 40 million people who has taken their freedom away. It's a lot of people, but actually I think we are probably also today maybe 250, 300 million people who live as slaves. So it's a very serious crime, and it's something that we all should be aware of. And the reason I'm super happy that that you have taken this series to be shown in America as well.
A little bit about a speech that Obama gave in 2012, I believe, that inspired this series. What was it about Obama's words that made you, that really honed you in on this as a new Why series that you wanted to get into?
You know, he's a fantastic speaker, but so it was very clear in so many aspects of slavery around the world. It's child slavery, it's in all kinds of businesses, it's also in our you know, food chain. So also the way we consume, when we buy stuff, you know, there's a lot of things we could do better and be aware of. When we were very happy because we can buy something super cheap, we might think about that it's probably somebody somewhere who has labored and struggled for next to nothing, or if at all paid, or being slaves. So I think there's a huge awareness necessity, and as Obama, he said so many clever things, but he also was very good in saying it's in the fishing industry, it's in the clothing industry, it's everywhere. It's in mines, it's children working in mines with their parents maybe, but still working in mines. It's children being sold by an uncle, you know, somewhere in the world to become a sex slave, or a slave on lakes doing fishing works or repairing the nets. And so it, you know, they are actually everywhere. And it's if we really look into it, it's connected to our daily life in many ways, even though we don't, you and I, see a slave every day, but it is connected to what we are doing, what we are buying, what you know, there's a chain of responsibility that needs to be looked into.
No, it's I actually got the clip here from that speech, and I figured I would play it just so everybody could hear a little bit of what inspired you. Of course,
Yeah.
we've reached out to Obama to see if he would join us. He's not jumping in, but we figured
I
we'd
got a
have.
letter from him now. I got a letter from his foundation, but I have to become a member. I have to do a lot of things before I can get. But I do write with some people, so maybe later in the month you can do the interview with
Well,
him.
like I said, we're gonna do some other events, so maybe we'll get Obama here. At least from today, here's President Obama from I believe 2012 talking about modern day slavery that we figured we would share with you all.
It ought to concern every person because it is a debasement of our common humanity. It ought to concern every community because it tears at our social fabric. It ought to concern every business because it distorts markets. It ought to concern every nation because it endangers public health and fuels violence and organized crime. I'm talking about the injustice, the outrage of human trafficking, which must be called by its true name, modern slavery. Now, I do not use that word slavery lightly. It evokes, obviously, one of the most painful chapters in our nation's history. But around the world, there's no denying the awful reality. When a man desperate for work finds himself in a factory or on a fishing boat or in a field, working, toiling for little or no pay and beaten if he tries to escape, that is slavery. When a woman is locked in a sweatshop or trapped in a home as a domestic servant, alone and abused, and incapable of leaving, that's slavery. When a little boy is kidnapped, turned into a child soldier, forced to kill or be killed, that's slavery. When a little girl is sold by her impoverished family, girls my daughter's age, runs away from home or is lured by the false promise of a better life and then imprisoned in a brothel and tortured if she resists, that's slavery. It is barbaric and it is evil, and it has no place in a civilized world. Now, as a nation, we've long rejected such cruelty. Just a few days ago, we marked the 150th anniversary of a document that I have hanging in the Oval Office, the Emancipation Proclamation. With the advance of Union forces, it brought a new day, that all persons held as slaves would thenceforth be forever free. We wrote that promise into our Constitution. We spent decades struggling to make it real. We joined with other nations in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights so that slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms.
An amazing speaker.
Amazing speaker. So those of you who want to see that full speech, I believe the team is going to be sharing that on our playlist in its entirety. It was the inspiration, we should say, for the Why Slavery series. Mette, since the series was released, and I believe it was 2018 was released, what kind of impact has the series made? For those of you who don't know, we're releasing this in the US for the first time on World Channel. But the series has been available worldwide for a few years now. But, you know, Mette, since it was released in Europe and Africa, what has been the impact of the series?
Yeah, so just the way that the Y works is we are an NGO that tries to ensure that everybody has access to free and trustworthy information, both as informational distributed through TV and broadcast, but also through schools and other ways of getting the films out. And we have particularly focused on reaching the underserved in terms of free access to media. So the films has actually gone out on approximately 70 TV stations and also at BBC World News, but a lot of local TV stations. We spend a lot of effort to get funding for language versions, so that we can go out in local languages in India, in Hindi and local Indian languages, or Swahili, and we also have shown films in full Arab language versions in the Arabic countries. So they have actually had a lot of impact in terms of dialogues and awareness, and of course, in the reason the why we ask questions, we actually don't really come up with solutions, but we hope that understanding something and really get an insight into to a topic will make people more engaged, and also that way try and change things. And we have shown the films also at UN. We launched the series at UN, but also in the European Union. So we try and show them everywhere. We even had all the British soldiers to watch the films so that they are aware of how to spot women and children who are endangered to become who have a risk to become slaves, maybe in airports and other places. So we've actually had quite a lot of impact and stories coming back to us. One of the outreach programs we had was in Nigeria, where approximately 10,000 children in school children in the northeast parts of Nigeria, where they are Muslims and they're very isolated. That's where in Nigeria they have most sort of civil war conditions, maybe. But and there, during these screenings, the children came up to the organization's representatives and said, our neighbor is going to send their daughter next week to the Middle East, or and so we had a lot of responses like that when we show the films in you can say the most poor countries, and where the most slaves are recruited. And we also had a lot of people saying that seeing is believing, because you hear that some girls disappear or some children disappear, or suddenly they are not there anymore, but actually you don't really know whether they what happened to them. And that's sort of the biggest reaction we get from people, is that so seeing is believing, and they would be more aware of that. And also village leaders who say, okay, maybe we should not send these girls away thinking that they'll get a job in the hotel business. It's also in the Philippines. We've had hundreds of thousands of people in the Philippines and Thailand watching the films. So it has that way, I think, hopefully a preventational purpose. But I also think it's important. So we also had Made in Hell, which is about the kafala system in the Middle East, and where lots of women and girls travel to become maids. And that actually means they have a contract, so they cannot leave without their employees to agree to it. So they are held trapped, as also Obama says in his speech. And we have filmed that, also the recruiters or the agents. And that films we have on our YouTube channel in the fully Arabic version. And it has been seen by nearly 3 million people, which also means we have had 100,000 people, 94,000 to be accurate, in Saudi Arabia, where of course they don't show these kind of films on TV because they have a very heavy censorship system, but also in the Emirates and the other Lebanon, and so where they actually have this kafala system. And what the film is about. Obviously, we don't know about whether our North Korean slave trade film has been shown in North Korea, but we know that we have lots of viewers also in sort of the Chinese area. And so the film, they really go many places, and we get lots of reactions. But I think primarily because nearly 100 million people have watched each of the film, that it also makes us in the Western world aware that it actually exists, that it's systemic, it's part. So we can also, as a consumer, look at what is it we buy. Obviously, if you buy something for $1 and you think, yeah, I got something super cheap, but maybe you should think about who actually produced what I'm buying now, and is it at all possible to get something to America or Denmark from some country far away that is so cheap that you think there must be some business structural issue there, that maybe you should just avoid things that are where you cannot follow the chain of responsibility in the production structure. So I think that it can impact people in many ways, both of course in countries where most poor countries often where the slaves are recruited, but also of course as us in the other end, being just a normal consumer, and you see, you can we understand better how these very very cheap t-shirts or whatever we buy, where it comes from.
Well, Why Slavery is releasing on World Channel's YouTube channel today. I want to also mention that while the series is releasing on YouTube today on World Channel's YouTube channel, it's also going to be releasing on air and broadcast in the U.S. for the first time, starting on Sunday, December 10th, and every week this month, and into January. So we're super excited to be able to be your distribution partner here in the U.S. And we think as this series is discovered, and like I said, this is the U.S. premiere of this series. It's been seen around the world and has won a few awards, and the impact that this series can make is super important. Just a reminder, today is World Human Rights Day, and so as we think about what the World Channel mission is, the public media mission, to build brand awareness, build awareness to marginalized communities, we think this is an important add to public media in the U.S.
Chris, Now we're really, really proud that you have picked it up, and we think obviously also it's very, very important. And as the first sort of freedom fighter, when the slave, the slave, that the historical slave trade, Wilberforce, he said when he tried to argue that they should stop slavery in the British Parliament in 1797, I think, he said, you might want to turn your head away, but you can never again say you did not know. And I think that's a very powerful statement, because these films are really engaging. It's very, very strong, and the filmmakers have really been putting a lot of effort into getting this right and figure out how this slavery works. And it's also very heartbreaking, but there's also moments where you think, what wonderful people we have here, and why are they exposed to this? So it's not only depressing, so I think people should watch it, because it's also, in a way, you can see the strength of these people, and you can see how sad it is, and such forces and intelligent people just coming from unfortunate backgrounds and poverty, how they suddenly end up in these situations. So I think I think that actually a lot of Americans will find it very exciting to watch these films, and understanding the human interest or struggle that we have, and that we should know about. I think knowing to know about this is a very powerful tool to actually navigate ourselves in the world we live in. It's complex and so, but knowledge is power, I think, and we would know more when we have watched these films. And so I hope that a lot of people will watch them in the United States.
Mette, thank you so much for joining me today for this Meet the Makers event. Again, Why Slavery is dropping on YouTube today. It's also in the PBS app if you're a subscriber to the PBS Passport service. And again, it's going to be broadcasting in the U.S. starting Sunday every week this month into January. And we are really grateful to be able to bring the series to the U.S. Starting today on World Channel. Mette, I will talk to you soon as we sort of look at other topics that are coming up. But to our audience today, thank you for joining us for this Meet the Makers, Why Slavery event. I'm Chris Hastings, executive producer. If you have questions, follow us on Twitter at World Channel. Follow us on Instagram at World Channel. Follow us here on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button at World Channel. And let us know what you think. Let us know if you have questions. We'll talk to you soon. Everybody have a great Friday, and do watch the films. We'll talk to you soon.